Yeah.
Oh my! It's time! It's time, friendships! How's it going? How's it going, friends? What is going on? Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Loved doing these live streams with you guys. It's always a lot of fun. Always a good time. And I hope that it's helpful and that all of the things that you want to do are helped by this. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, I'm a little nervous. All right. Usually I do the edited version of these type of tutorials, and it comes across nice and smooth. And you don't realize that sometimes I think about things like, so today I'm looking at the monitor. Because that's a rough time. Anyway, I'm really glad to see you guys here. Thank you so much for being here. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to be hanging out, working in Resolve a little bit. I will answer just about any question that I can. I don't know everything about Resolve. I don't know every single thing about every feature, but I have a pretty good understanding of how Resolve works. And so anything that you guys want to ask, I'm certainly willing to try to answer. And if I don't know the answer, I'll just tell you. I'm all about the honesty here. So that's the deal. We're also going to be doing some LUT giveaways, which means that you're going to be posting a secret word in the chat, and then we have a fancy science thing that will pick your name out of a hat, and whoever wins gets a free LUT pack of their choice from Ground Control. That's the deal. That's the deal. What? He's got to step away. It's crazy. Bah, 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 bah. Okay, anyway. Nisant says, love your tutorials. Have learned a lot watching you. Thanks. You're welcome. Thank you so much for saying that. Really appreciate that. You guys, I straight up would not post tutorials if you guys didn't like them and if you didn't comment on them and watch them and all that stuff. Because why would I? That would be really boring to like put all that work into stuff and then no one watches them. So thank you so much for watching them. Thank you for giving, like feeding our families here at Ground Control, because you guys buying LUTs, you guys watching videos on YouTube, that's literally how we make our money. That's how we live. So thank you so much for being there for us. Owe you guys a lot. We could one day maybe send him content to edit with. Actually, here's the thing. Next live stream, I wanted to do it on this live stream, but I just was not organized enough to make that happen. What I want to do is I want you guys to, we're going to set up some kind of fancy way to do this, but I want you guys to send in projects, like ungraded projects, and then I will go through them, and if nothing else, at least give some tips on them for grading them like on a live stream. So I don't know if I'll grade the whole thing. I don't know if maybe I will. Don't know. Maybe I'll just look at it and be like, I don't know how to grade that, man. That's way too hard. I don't know. But you'll at least kind of get some kind of perspective on how to approach it from how I would do it from a color sense. So I would love to do something like that. Probably the easiest way to connect with that is for you to join our Discord. If you guys don't know what our Discord is, I will open it up and hopefully not show you anything horribly secret or something. So here's our Discord. What this is a chat room kind of app that you can use to hang out, say hi, and this is basically like a community of people who are interested in editing or color. And we have a whole bunch of like different discussion topics here. Like here's announcements, like, hey, look, we're going live. Here's some like exclusive sales and stuff that we have just for people who join the Discord. And so we have a link. I think there's a link in the chat. I also have a YouTube video about this, but it's pretty much just a way for us to connect, not on live stream, but in a more live way than just like YouTube comments and stuff. It's just liver, that's all. So that's pretty much the deal. That's a great way to like ask questions and get like quicker responses, because it's a lot easier to respond quickly on Discord than it is through like YouTube comments and stuff. So that's a great way to do it. That's a great way. So that's the deal. That's the deal. I'm hoping that that will be a thing soon. So you guys are free to ask questions, and I'll answer whatever I can. I'm going to try and keep up with stuff. I tend to get on tangents and talk forever, but we'll try it. We'll try it out. I have a question about the second display monitor. It says Archfilms in Resolve, which I can see the full result. Is that any kind of card I can use just like we edit stuff in Premiere and watch full display? Yeah, what sucks is you have to buy a hardware card of some kind. So I use a Blackmagic mini monitor. That's like all you need, really. If you're doing a lot of like video input and output, or like you're working like doing a lot of like broadcast stuff or stuff from like tape decks or things like that, you might want a fancier card. But it's like $140 for like this little PCI card, and it has an HDMI out, and you can put it to a dedicated monitor and have a full screen. And I think the reason they do that is just for like color fidelity and stuff. I mean, it would be super nice to just be able to like, all right, I want my color display on this monitor, but that's unfortunately not how Resolve works right now. So yeah, in Blackmagic Deck Link, yeah, that works. Thomas, mini monitor, says Kim. Yeah, totally, that works. Mini monitor 4K. Do they have a mini monitor 4K? My mind is blown. All right. So, Thomas says, does any on as Osmo footage? What are you saying? What are you asking? Something about Osmo footage? Please let me know. Can you please round trip a very complex timeline, for example, with warp stabilization and time remapping from Premiere Pro to Resolve and back to Premiere Pro? Oh, does anyone use Osmo footage? Is that what you're asking? I've used Osmo footage a little bit. We have an Osmo, but I haven't used it very much because we used it for like a specific project. But it's, in my experience, at least the Osmo that I have is very similar to like DJI drone footage, very similar. But you know, they have all kinds of new ones now. Can you, yeah, so can you round trip a complex timeline? I don't have one of those ready. I don't have something like that right now. I'll tell you though, that is quite a trick. And what you'll probably need to do, especially if it has warp stabilization and time remapping, I would just export it out, honestly. The only reason you wouldn't want to export it out, there's two reasons why I would not export something out as like a flat ProRes or a flat Cineform. One is if you're using RAW, like if you're using RAW footage and you want to adjust the RAW inside of Resolve, that might be a reason to use an XML. The other one is if you have like a lot of transitions and like fades and stuff, it might be a little easier to use an XML. But honestly, for me, it's a little bit easier to use an EDL in almost every situation. So that's what I do. I try and make stuff simple enough that I can go to an EDL and then add any fancy stuff like after my color grade. That's not always possible. It depends on your project. Some things you might have to like set an in and an out, and then just render that clip and then like bring it into a new timeline and then round trip it from there. It's kind of a pain to round trip, honestly. But I round trip all the time. But it's usually not a really, really complicated sequence. It's usually just exported out as a flat Cineform with an EDL from Premiere, and I can show you how to do that. And I have a few tutorials on that too. So yeah. Okay, so hello and thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thanks, Thomas. Appreciate that. As a rule, do you always have to keep the blacks above 0 on the scopes? So for it to be broadcast legal, it needs to be like within, I think it's like -10. It's been a while since I've done like broadcast stuff, but you can usually set like a broadcast legalizer on there. The reason why you would want to move it yourself is so that it looks good under that broadcast legalizer. Like if you just go crazy, like if you're like, you know, doing something crazy like this, and then you put like the broadcast legalizer on it, it might not show up the way you want it to, like because it like truncates those colors, and when you export it, it's not going to look the way that you want. And so really the deal is you generally want to keep it in this range, because that's like what you can see, and that's like what's within, and that's like what's controlled, you know. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of like keeping stuff in the range as much as you can, so that if it has to go to broadcast, and if it goes through like legalization filters and stuff, that it doesn't get messed up, you know. You could certainly do this, like, and then put a broadcast legalizer on it, and it should be fine, from my experience, but it's not going to look good. You know what I mean? If you did this and you didn't have a broadcast legalizer on it, you would probably get it sent back if it's a broadcast thing. It just depends. And that it depends on the software workflow. It depends on like how you it depends on like if you're going out to like tape. It depends on like what kind of equipment the network is using. Like there's like 50 different things, you know. Anyway, what's the magic word? Did I not use please at some point? Was I rude? Please don't think I'm rude, guys. I'm a nice guy. Somebody asked about exporting alpha channels. Yeah, I think you can. You just have to use... Honestly, I haven't done that a whole lot. But I think, like, how I would do it, and I could be totally off here, is I would use... Oh, gosh. You're putting me on the spot here. I haven't really done that very much, honestly. I don't think I ever have needed to do that. Yeah. Yeah, Duke Sweden says he's done that before, so that would be, if you guys want to connect on that, that'd be awesome. I honestly have not had a use for that yet, so I'm not familiar with it. I could probably figure it out live, but you could probably do that too. So, Osmo has a red push. I think so too. Yeah, I think all DJI footage has kind of a reddish magenta push, from what I've seen. Joe Moreno, wrong time? Did you think it's the wrong time, or did I list the wrong time? Because I'm pretty sure I didn't. I am 72% sure I said the right time. How do you find color grading Vlog? I haven't worked with Vlog, honestly. I keep asking for people to send Vlog because I don't have anything that shoots Vlog. I don't have like a GH4 or anything, so I keep asking people to send me Vlog, and I haven't gotten any. So I would love to work with some Vlog at some point, but I just haven't had the experience to do that yet. I've been having trouble with my UHD source footage not editing smoothly on a 1080 timeline. Any tips? I'm on PC, Resolve 14 Studio. What kind of system do you have? And it depends on the codec too. Like UHD ProRes probably works great. UHD Cineform probably works pretty good. But UHD DJI footage, or Sony MP4 footage is probably a lot harder on your system. And so, I mean, you have to have a decent processor and a really good graphics card to do that. How do you find color grading? Oh yeah, color grading Vlog on the GH5. I want to get the most cinematic footage I can. Yeah, again, I mean, I haven't really worked with it. Make more tutorials about color matching cameras. Thanks. Okay, DroneVid. Duke Sweden says it doesn't look like it because the key looks like the green screen is still there, only gray, but when you import it into another project, the background's transparent. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm a little bit behind on chat. PC with GTX 1080 6-core i7 footage from DVX 200 MP4. Oh, you know what? Our submit footage site is probably down. We just switched websites, you guys. We just updated our website, which we think is going to be better and easier for you guys to use. But some of our pages that were up, I don't think are up right now. Cinematech Creative, send me an email, casey@groundcontrolcolor.com with a link to that, and I'll get back to you on the Vlog stuff. Yeah, footage from a DVX 200. Man, one thing I would say that could help is, I don't know if you're familiar with render caching or with optimized media. You could do that to edit back in real time. Usually that works pretty well. That's a pretty spec computer, so I mean, yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is there, but I would definitely try the render cache thing, and if you don't know what that is, I can go through that a little bit. Have you heard about issues with multicam editing and using one angle that has gaps in the recording? I've tried several multicam timelines like that, and the only ones that had continuous recording work. Huh. I haven't heard about that, no. How would you import and export a timeline with alpha mats? How would you import and export a timeline with alpha mats? I'm not sure on that. I know that you can load a mat like in the color thing, like you can load an external mat. Again, I mean, I don't have like a lot of resources to work with on that, but from what you can do, I gotta remember how to do that. Let's see. Add. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've done that. Somebody who does this all the time is probably looking at this like, man, this guy is the dumbest. I know there is a way to... I think you have to import it under media, right? Isn't that a thing? I think you can import the media, and maybe I'll you know what? I'll have to do some better research on that than I can do in the next few minutes. And if you guys are interested in that, I can make a tutorial on it. But yeah, I honestly, like, I haven't had to do a lot of that stuff. Like, that's the cool thing, is you guys have so many different things that you're working on, and like I work on like one category of things most of the time, you know? And so it's really cool to see like those different perspectives and different like questions, because that's something I can research and like try out, but I haven't had to do that like recently. Oh, the magic word is always free. How can I change my text preset so that when I drag a new title, it isn't super long? You might be able to do that in is it the no, it's in the user settings. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So under user, new generator duration. It might work under that, because this says 5 seconds. So if we do it like 3 seconds, and then I make a new text, how long is that? Yeah, that's 3 seconds. And so if I go back, oops, I go back and make that 10 seconds. Look at that. Look at Casey. Rocked that question. Rocked that one. Face. That's how you do it. Under preferences, under user, under editing, standard generator duration. That's what you do. Yep. 1 for 7. Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. All right. Just got my vlog in the post today. I'll record you some basic software and send it over if you like. It'll have to be 4K 10-bit. That sounds good. I'm new to the editing world. Thank you for all this information. I'm so excited about all this. Awesome. Awesome. I love that. Can you show how your approach on creating looks, please? Sure. Yeah. Okay, so like this is just a project that I have open because it has a lot of different cameras, a lot of different like lighting scenarios. So I figured it'd be good for like trying something out. So like, let's go with this shot. All right. Okay, like welcoming these kids into this place, right? So first of all, what I'm going to do is just do a general grade on it to make it look normal. You don't have to do this part. I like to do it this way. And so what I'm going to do is just bring the blacks down a little bit. I'm going to bring the gain up a little bit, and I'm going to balance this because it's a little bit warm. Like right here is a little bit warm on my monitor. Okay. So there's a couple ways I can do that. I can adjust the gain wheel and kind of balance that out by looking at the scopes. An easy way to do that, actually, I hate to admit it, but this little pick white point thing is pretty rad. And grab that and pick the white point. And what that's going to do is set whatever I like hit on the screen, whatever I dropped. Is that a word? That's going to balance it as white, and it's going to bring it up to 1023. You probably don't want it at 1023. You probably want it lower, but it will do a decent job balancing it. And the cool thing is it doesn't do secret things behind the scenes. It just moves your gain wheel, like your gain adjustment. And so you can kind of counteract what it does if you want to. So like I can take this wheel down here and just roll down on my mouse and bring that down to a level that doesn't suck. And so here's what I've done so far. This is before, this is after. All right, now I'm gonna need some saturation. I'm just gonna roll up on the saturation until this is like a normal looking shot. Looks like kind of what you see with your eyes, right? We could do more. I'm just gonna stop there. That sounds good. So let's say I wanna do a creative look. This is like our basic balance. Right? Now I wanna do a creative look of some kind. What kind of look should we make for this, you guys? Let me know what we want to do creatively. That's the cool thing about live, is we can work on this together, you know? Aw, that's cool. I know I'm pretty far behind on chat, you guys, so thank you for your patience. Just wanted to say I really like your tutorials and other stuff. Keep it up. Thank you, Matthias. That's awesome. But yeah. Where do I update my vision to help know when the color grading is good enough? This happens even when I use a lot old man problems. Oh man. Yeah. I wish there was like an automatic like make me see better, or like make me pro at something thing. That would be great. Old man problems. Can I explain the different node types? Yeah, I can get to that. Okay, so let's see. Maybe a sunset look, orange and teal look. Okay, let's do a sunset look. And so like, if you're talking about sunset, you're talking about like probably a little bit higher contrast. You're talking probably pretty warm. Okay, so I like to play with contrast with the curves. That just seems like you have the more control that way. And so what I'll do is just start out with like a standard S curve, something like that, just to bring up the contrast. And the cool thing is, because like there's a million different ways to do every single like color grading thing. I could take this contrast thing and bring that up and probably get a similar result. And I can play with the pivot to kind of figure out like how that contrast line works and like kind of adjust the contrast that way. But like with curves, like adjusting contrast, if you look at it on the curves, that contrast slider does basically this, and then pivot kind of moves it around. Like if you bring pivot down, it does that. If you bring pivot up, it does that, right? And so you can do all that same stuff in the curves, but you have a little bit more control. And so maybe I'll just do something like this. And I'm just looking at it with my eyes, looking at the scopes, making sure I'm not crushing too much. Depends on, again, a lot of this, like after this balance point, like a lot of this is subjective. It's just like what you think looks good. And so maybe I'll push down my blacks a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'll call this contrast. I could do this all in one node. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to make another node just to keep us organized. Apparently there we go. Alt-S wasn't working for some reason, but that's fine. And now let's say I want it to be a little bit warmer. Maybe I'll start with the gamma and just push that a little warmer. Do the gain a little bit warmer. And, you know, a lot of these looks, they're really dependent on the lighting and like what you actually shot. Like without quite a bit of work, it would be really, thank you Steve Volpert for subscribing. Appreciate that. You would not be able like to make this look like it was a lower like light situation without doing quite a bit of work on it. I can make it kind of feel like a little bit warmer, like, oh, this is late in the afternoon. And like, maybe I could make the lift a little bit cooler. So like, oh, this is like in the shade in the afternoon, you know? So I could do that. Timo Anger, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate that. So like, you could do that, and that's kind of just a warmer look. Pretty basic. To kind of give like a sunset type of look. You could also, like, if you wanted to go double crazy, you could take another curve and like, you know, you could like relight some stuff here. Like if I wanted to take this and like make it a little bit brighter. And like kind of adjust like this type of stuff. It can make it look like the sun is coming in like up at the top. Again, you have to be careful because it can look fake really easily, and like you have to track it if the camera's moving and stuff. But that's pretty much the idea. Is like you want to get that feeling across, and pretty much if it feels like the way you want it to and it matches with the other shots, like you're doing pretty well. Yes, the session's recorded. Should be up. YouTube has to like process it, so it might be up like an hour after we're done. Can you move the points on the curves with the arrow keys? I don't think you can. Nope. That would be kind of cool. One thing you can do is do printer lights, which is kind of fun. It's a little bit clunky, I mean, compared to like all these tools that we have. But I'll show you. It's kind of cool. Like if you really want to get some kind of tactile thing, I think it's in color, printer light hotkeys. So all I did was just go to color and enable this printer light hotkeys. And what that does is you can use the number pad and you can adjust the colors with the number pad. And like if you open up the DaVinci manual, like it will show you exactly what each number does and stuff. But it's basically adjusting the offset, like the entire chart on the red, green, and blue channels. And so you can do sucker delivery. Hold on. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. My kids just came in and gave us suckers. That's cute. Thank you. So yeah, like if I hit 7, I could make this really warm. But it like brings up the shadows and everything, like the whole red channel. And so again, it's a little bit clunky. It's kind of based on like an older way of doing things, which you know, you can research and whatever, but that's kind of a cool thing to play around with. Anyway, I jumped ahead a little bit. Let's see. Is there a way to preview LUTs like in Premiere without a plugin in Resolve? Not really at this moment. Not that I know of. I mean, you could. Yeah, not a really great way to do it, no. I wish. Okay. Let's see. I know I'm way behind, guys. We're going to take a couple more questions, then we're going to do a LUT giveaway, okay? Where am I? Could I explain the different node types? Yeah, I have a tutorial on that. And if you guys want me to spend some time on that, I can totally do that live. But really, like, with just a quick explanation, everything that you color lives in a node. Everything that you do down here lives in a node. This is like a group of corrections. And if you hit Alt-S, that adds a serial node, and which means it's like you're going to do something here. Thank you, that person, for subscribing. Appreciate that. And in the second node, this is like you do more stuff after it. So it's like you can make everything really pink, and it's just easier to see in the nodes. And then in the second node, you desaturate everything. and the order matters, right? So you're making everything pink and then you're desaturating it. If you switch them, then it ends up pink because you're desaturating everything and then making it pink. Okay? So the order there matters. All right? There's a bunch of different nodes. Most of the time, you can use a serial node. Like, most of the time. There's some fancy things that you can do with layer nodes and with, like, inside-outside nodes, things like that, which I can go into if you guys want me to. But I won't go into it unless everybody wants me to, because I already have, like, a couple tutorials on that. Okay. Let's see. What are you working on in that project on my screen? This is a project that Dan did for his church about how they had this like big event where like all these kids came to like get school supplies and like have this like big party and everything, and so this is kind of the event video for that. And so it's shot like in like several different schools, like with different cameras and different photographers and everything. Like it was a, you know, a decent sized project, and I picked it for this because it has a lot of different shots. A lot of them are really good. Some of them have a lot of problems and like need a lot of fixing and stuff. It's hard to match all these things, so it's good for something like we're doing today. Okay. Okay. I'm sure this is dead simple, but what's the best way to set up a 1080 comp but use 4K footage so that you can pan and zoom and stuff? Big deal is if you go to project settings, make sure this is 1920 by 1080, and then under, image scaling, under input sizing, mismatch resolution files, just say center crop with no resizing. And then whatever the size of your footage is, it's just going to place it in there all awko, like just super awkward, and then you can resize it in Resolve. Because it defaults to scale entire image to fit, and so it's kind of funny because like you'll open up a timeline and you won't know that you have like extra room to like pan and scan stuff, which is kind of annoying, but that's how you do it. All right. I could send you the drive link to my complex timeline and all the files if you wanted. You could make a video for round tripping. Yeah, I mean, message me in Discord or email me about that, and we'll connect, Labesh. That would be awesome. That'd be really cool. Sorry if I butcher anyone's name. I'm the worst at that, just so you know. Nick says, I love you, Casey. I've been able to take some high-level jobs all because of you. Really? That is so cool. Thank you so much, Nick. That is so cool. Wow. Super rad. Okay. Some of us are starting to use Resolve for underwater videos. Do you have any specific tips for that? Yes. Shoot with a filter if you're going to shoot underwater. The reason is because you can't really fix it. You can't fix that white balance in post because the blue channel, or I forget. I assume it's the blue channel. I think it's the blue channel. That would make sense. Is just like clipped to crap. Like that's why you can't bring that underwater footage back. Is because you're working with something that like here. Let me do this real quick. So pretend this is underwater. All right? You're working with something that like that comes in like this. All right? And there is no other like there is no like you can't just bring it back like this because it's cut off. because it's not just that the white balance is messed up, it's the white balance is messed up and one of the channels is clipped. It's just like having like too much exposure. It's just like having something that like looks like this, but it's just in one channel. And so even if you tried to like make it look better, like it's still gonna look kind of like that, like no matter what you do, and it's not gonna look a lot better. So you have to shoot with that filter. They're just like, we did a lot of like testing stuff and like looking at underwater footage and like trying to make LUTs for it and trying to make tutorials for it and stuff. And the sad truth is you got to shoot with the filter because you just don't have the data if you don't. So that's the idea. Yeah, let's do a giveaway. So here's how this works. What we're gonna do is a LUT giveaway, and how this works is we're gonna say, let's say if you type !free LUT, FREELUT in the chat, that is going to qualify you with our magical robot that looks at our chat to enter this contest. It's !free LUT, all one word, just like that. Cinemark Creative's got it. Christian Hodder's got it. Yep. So, oh yeah, okay. I think it will take the past things though. Okay. So anybody who wants a free LUT pack, type !free LUT in the chat, and that will enter you into the drawing. We'll give you a couple minutes to enter. We're going to do a couple more of these giveaways during this stream. I'm going to try and stream for about another hour and a half or so, depending on how things go, barring any emergencies, or if I have to go to the bathroom. That's what we'll do. That is what we'll do. Does that happen to be the command for the free LUTs page? !free LUT. That sucks. Okay. Is it still going to work for the giveaway, though? Perfect. We're good. Okay. Ignore Nightbot telling you all about the free LUTs page. That's a different thing. That's amazing. Just out of the blue. Oh. Out of the blue, I completely just guessed one of the commands for Nightbot. That's amazing. So don't worry about it. That's amazing. All right. This should make things interesting to try and find stuff in chat. In the future, we'll do something different. Great. That's the fun of live streaming. Okay. I'm going to give you guys 30 more seconds. 30 more seconds. So if you want a chance to get a free LUT pack from Ground Control, !free LUT, all one word. All this is really helpful. Thanks. Yeah. Is there a keyboard shortcut for changing values on the wheels? Nope. I wish. That would be great. Pretty much Blackmagic wants you to buy a Surface to do anything physical for the most part. So they've pretty much locked that down from my understanding. My colors look great but suck on TV. What should I treat as primary? You have to calibrate your monitor. Everybody's TV is going to look different. That's the thing that sucks about color grading, you guys. And I cannot say it enough, is your stuff will look different on everything. And so you have to pick a calibrated monitor and trust that and be okay with it looking a little different on other stuff. One thing is, like, a lot of like TVs will have like, they just have like 50 or 60 different crappy settings. That's like, yeah, increase the contrast to crap. Like, make everybody's skin tones look awful. Like, make this look horrible. They have like all these horrible filters that are called good things, And if you turn all of those off, your stuff will probably look a little better and closer to what you want. So anyway, okay, we're cutting it off. We're cutting it off. So Danjo, go ahead and draw a winner whenever you are ready. That would be great. Steve S has won the giveaway. Steve S, thank you so much for entering. You guys, Steve S, here's how this works. You can either message me on Discord, on our Discord server, or you can email me, Casey at groundcontrolcolor.com. That's CASEY at groundcontrolcolor.com. Let me know that you won, and we'll get you hooked up with stuff, okay? Good job, Steve S. Awesome. Okay, you guys, if you didn't win, do not fret. We will be doing a couple more giveaways. It's just weeping. Where's my coffee? I have not even touched my coffee. I didn't make a coffee. I'm drunk. Great. I'm going to drink my water then. Everything's fine. Wow. My poor... Yeah, poor sweet Casey. He's just a stupid idiot. I had coffee super early this morning. Usually we have it around 8 or 9. I had it at like 6 instead. And then I thought in my mind that I had some coffee around here, and I don't. I totally don't. Email is Casey at groundcontrolcolor.com. Do you have / use the BMD micro or mini panel? It seems like in your tutorials you only use mouse. I have micro, but I'm debating whether I should upgrade to mini. Two things. I mostly use mouse because most people have a mouse in their tutorials. I do have a tangent ripple, which I do like. But I would love to get a Blackmagic panel of some kind. I just haven't yet because I bought the ripple like right before Blackmagic came out with all their stuff. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe in the future. But those do look rad. How do you like the mini panel, Cinematech? Okay. When zooming into your footage, how do you scroll around? Easiest way, if you're zooming in, I grab the middle button and I push it down like that. And I can drag it. Yep, that's the easiest way to do it. That's the easiest way. Great channel, Casey. Cheers from Brazil. Thank you, Diego. Appreciate that. Yep, that's how you do it. You guys, like, honestly, this has been such a big deal. I don't know. I honestly don't understand why this has been such a big deal. But if you don't have a mouse that has a middle button on it, and you're going to use Resolve more than once, you seriously need to get a middle button on your mouse. Like, you need to get a mouse for $7 on Amazon that has a middle button. Okay? Like, this is real talk here, and this is because I care about you. Resolve is way easier to use if you have a middle button. Okay? Okay. I'm glad we got that worked out. That's a really important part of using Resolve. I know it seems stupid, and I know there should be ways to do it without it, and I know that there should be a mappable keyboard shortcut. I know, I've heard it all. Just get a middle button mouse, dude. Okay? Okay. Cool. Yeah, calibrate your monitor and use a BMD card. That's the best way to do it. Yep. Using an ACES workflow, how do I get more dynamic range out of poorly shot clips and recover highlights? I've worked with ACES a little bit. The reason I don't work in ACES a lot is because it feels like an extra step that doesn't work as well as it should. And this is, honestly, this is based on opening it a couple times, playing with it for about 10 minutes, and then switching back. Okay, so there might be something I'm missing. So just take this as it is, right? But like, let's say I have a project like this, okay? and I go to color management, and instead I go to ACES, right? And I go to input device transform, and I go to Blackmagic Design film. Like, a lot of this was shot in BMD film, right? This automatically sets a lot of my images to silly crazy mode because they're all shot on different cameras. You know what I mean? And so, like, some of them were shot on BMD film. And so some of them look okay, but like I have to pretty much go through and like adjust every single thing. Again, I might not understand this totally. I might be missing something pretty big here, right? That's totally might be true. So, just saying. I like having a standard thing, and then that's why I started making LUTs, is because I feel like if you have a timeline with a bunch of different cameras, that it's easier to use, like, to make your own adjustment, like, oh, this was shot on BMD film, or this was shot on whatever camera it was shot on, and then load a LUT for that, and then you can just copy that to the other cameras, you know. Anyway, so if anybody knows ACES really well, you are welcome to send me an email and educate me. But I haven't had a lot of experience with it, and the little experience I've had, I'm not very happy with it. That's my thoughts. Okay. Let's see. Oh, my points in the wheels don't move as fast as yours. Is that happening because I'm on a slower system? Shouldn't be. There's two factors. First of all, if you are on a slow system and like you move this and it doesn't like automatically update and it kind of like goes boop 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 boop, you know, that could be because of a slow system. If you move it and like you move your mouse like really far and it just goes boop, like just a little bit, that's because of the mouse sensitivity. And so it has to do with your pointer sensitivity on your system, as well as I'm pretty you might be able to adjust the sensitivity in the wheels. That might only be with a color surface though, now that I think of it. So I mean, I have my mouse, it's not fast, it's about medium. So I don't know if that's what you're talking about or not. Metal Right, what are you talking about, dude? What's up?
Olives had a major run. Maraschino cherries, major run.
Gotcha.
No one had a run like limes. No one.
Gotcha. Okay. Moving on. Where are we at? Trying to catch up, guys. Flanders Scientifics are very good monitors. Yeah, I haven't used them myself. I've heard nothing but good things about Flanders. F Micro, it's awesome. Yeah, seems like it's awesome. All right. The mini panel adds buttons to add nodes of different types with and without masks. I think that could be nice to have, but for an extra 2,000, is that all it adds? Because if that's all it adds, that is totally not worth it in my opinion. Because you can, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but most of the time I'm adding a serial node or a serial node with a circle window. Alt S, Alt C. Those are both of those. That takes 1 second. You know, I don't think that's worth $2,000 in my opinion. Okay. Mixed lighting and interior for balance, please. Okay, let's see what we got. I'm not sure if we have lots of mixed lighting. I feel like we had a shot back here, like at the... let me see. I feel like we had one in here, maybe? It's hard to tell when it's desaturated. But we'll grade this one either way, right? Okay. So this, I believe... Let's try it. So, really, I always approach any shot kind of with the same way to start out with, right? Really what you want is for things to look natural or to at least match with the look that you're going for, right? So most of the time I try and make it look natural first. That just makes the most sense to me because I can at least figure out like what that image actually looks like in real life and then decide what to do with it, okay? So first of all, this is pretty desaturated. It's actually okay contrast, but mostly because of this white out here. And so like you see on the scopes that white is blown out. There's nothing interesting out there. It's okay to blow that out. What we want to make sure is that it's bright enough that the blacks are black, the whites are white, and that the saturation is good. So what I'm going to do first is I know I need to lose these windows. I'm going to probably boost the gain up just a little. And then the lift is pretty good too. I think I'm just going to take it down a little. And I think this is also coming in just a little bit warm. The reason I think that is because this red channel is up a little bit more than the blue and the green channels. And so I'm going to take this lift wheel and just move it ever so slightly to balance these little parts right here. And then I'm going to bring the lift down a little bit. I might change this later. This is just a starting point, okay? I'm also going to boost up my saturation, and we'll see this is coming in pretty warm. There's a lot of things here that are white, like this plate is white, and it looks like this plate on the scopes is right here. And so I'm going to see about balancing to this plate and see what it looks like. It might be too crazy. It might be a mixed light. Don't know. I'm going to take the gain wheel and push it towards blue a little bit. And I'm just looking at my scopes. I'm not even looking at the image. And I'm just balancing these parts right here. Look back at my image. It looks pretty good. Probably needs a little bit more saturation now because anytime you do like a big white balance adjustment, you usually need to add a little bit of saturation. Might need to boost the gamma up a little bit. But that's kind of a basic look. I still feel like the shadows are a little bit warm, so I'm going to push those a little bit cooler. Maybe bring the lift down a little. Something like that to have kind of a normal looking shot. And so that's pretty good. I feel like there might be kind of a warm, it feels like might be a warm light here and kind of a cooler light there. If you like it, you could leave it. If you don't like that, I can add a serial node, add a circle window, and kind of adjust that a little bit. Maybe just bring my gain up a little bit warmer and kind of try to balance that out if I want to. Again, you don't have to. It's a very subtle thing. Again, after a certain point, as long as your shots match, it's pretty subjective to what you want to do. So that's just the really slight difference there. Okay. So I hope that makes sense a little bit for the... I mean, I know that's not really a great mixed light interior. I'm trying to think if we have one that's like obviously... This one could be. Let's see what it is. And I'm just doing all that stuff we talked about just real quick because of liveness. So again, I mean that's pretty good lighting too. So I don't know. But basically what you would do for the most part is you would select whatever part of the image, like you would try and balance your subject. And so if like what you wanted to show are these backpacks, you want to make sure that those backpacks and the people around them look natural. And if there's like a light in the background that's too yellow or something, what I always do is just put a window over it and then balance it itself. And that's a great way to approach those type of things. That's the thoughts. Yeah, middle click is wheel click. Yeah, it's the same thing. Just want to say thanks for all the tutorials and all the help. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate that. And controls for the different hue versus saturation curves, saturation versus luminance. Oh man, these are fun. These are super fun. Sure, we can talk about that. We can talk about that. Alright, boost the saturation a little bit here. So, if you guys don't know, this curve section is really powerful. Obviously, this like normal curves, just like Photoshop type of curves, is awesome. It's called the custom curves in Resolve. But behind it, you have these five little dots here. And these are like, I don't know what they officially call them. I call them like the relational curves, I guess. That probably sounds dirty. But it's relating one thing to another, right? So hue versus hue, that's taking something it's selecting something based on its hue and changing it to changing the hue of those things, right? So the cool thing is that I can take my eyedropper and I can select things on this curve with the eyedropper, right? And so if I select this shirt, it pops up here as this kind of neon green color. And if I push this forward, or if I push this, I'm going to widen this out a little bit. That's the thing is with these curves, it's real easy to make things look ugly, so you got to be careful with it. But if I push it like up, then it moves the hue to the left, right? Correct? And if I push it down, it moves the hue to the right. And so if I want a specific color to be just a little bit different hue, like if I want these shirts to be like, oh, I want those to be like bright green. In real life, they look bright green, and this camera just like made them look crazy. I don't know. And so I can just like bring this down a little bit on that curve, and it will pretty much just select those colors and just really softly change the hue to a little bit greener. You could do the same thing with a qualifier. Like if you wanted to do that, this is just kind of a quicker, more broad way of doing that. And it's really powerful. So that's a great way to do that. That's also a great way to like remove a specific color cast. Like what happens is like you'll have like a light on somebody's face that you don't like it's a blue light. You could sometimes select that and take that hue and move it a little bit warmer so that it kind of balances it out and it doesn't look as blue. Stuff like that. That also works great for like acne. Like if you have like red spots on somebody's face, you can select those and kind of move them up a little bit to kind of be warmer, or I guess it would be down to be a little bit warmer. And sometimes that can make people's skin look a little better. So that's hue versus hue. Hue versus saturation is very similar. So I select that on the curve and I bring it down, and you can desaturate certain colors based on the curve, right? Based on what you've selected. Super convenient. Again, it's very easy to make that look really crappy, so you got to be careful. Hue versus luminance. This, in my opinion, is the trickiest one to make look good. And so if I select this, I can bring that down, but what happens is, check this out. It gets like that. And so it's very easy to make this look really bad. And it gets bad quick. And so I almost never use hue versus luminance because it seems like it messes up the image enough to where it's not really useful. That's my thoughts. Luminance versus saturation is really useful. So stuff like this. Let's say you want to do this really extreme look, right? So it's like a super cool shadows and super warm highlights, right? Something like this, but you don't want it to look as hipster. You don't want the big blue shadows. You can make a new node, and then you can take the darker parts of the image and just bring the saturation down, and the lighter parts of the image and bring the saturation down, and adjust that. And what that'll do is it will make it actually look a lot more natural looking. So like here's the difference. See, like in her pants, that really, like, even though this is a really extreme example, it makes it look a little bit more believable because the white things are white and the black things are black, and so it looks like it's balanced even though you've been jacking with the colors like a crazy person. And then saturation versus saturation is kind of the same thing. It's like if you have something that's really saturated, a lot of times this happens with like oranges and reds and pinks. Things like car lights. Like let's see if we have tail lights on a car, that's really good. Or okay, so like this guy's shirt. I think I actually used this on this guy's shirt when I did do the grade on this. Because like, you know, you want it nice and saturated. You want it like warm, like to have those like nice skin tones and everything. But like his shirt's just like, at least on my monitor, his shirt's pretty bright. Like you can take like this, you can I forgot where I was for a second. You can pick this color and like bring it down just a little bit in saturation to kind of tame it. And what's cool is you can basically roll off anything that is a certain saturation or above in your image to a certain level, right? And so it's really easy to kind of control that. This is really good for like if something's really bright, especially if you shot on like Canon, like a like CineStyle, man, makes things really, really bright. You can kind of tame that down and kind of normalize the saturations on things. That's a good way to do it. I know. I wish the curved line stuck to the middle position when you drag the dot side to side. I know. That would be so great. All right. I'm going to try and catch up here. I soon have a project for a product shooting. The background will be grayish and the product will be black mostly. How do you preserve and show all the details of those black surfaces with no color contrast? Well, the big deal is you need to shoot it bright enough. You need to shoot it bright enough. I mean, you have to. If you don't, it's going to be rough. It's going to be really grainy. It's going to suck. So shoot it as bright as you can. That would be one thing. Another thing that's nice is like, let's see if we have something dark we can play with here. Let's see. This might work. I don't know. This isn't this is underexposed, but so you'll kind of have to bear with me on that, but you can at least get sort of an idea of how this works. Okay. So we'll get this balanced out a little better. Something like that. Let's go with that just for a quick, right? Let's say I want to accentuate the details in this backpack, right? Which is for product shots, you always, like, you pretty much are always doing something like this. And this is definitely not lit like a product shot, just this is just what I got, okay? But what I'll do usually is I'll make a window around it like this, and then I'll play with the curve, like the custom curve, and I'll just grab a point on the curve and just play with it and see what it does. And like, oh yeah, if I want to accentuate like this mesh here, like, and make that pop out, I'm gonna play with this until that mesh kind of starts to pop out, and then I can adjust the contrast like that. you know, and then this is before, this is after, like, makes that backpack pop. And the same thing, like if you have a dark product, it's all about messing with those curves and making those certain things pop. And depending on what the product is, like it might be like, oh man, I really want that part of the product to pop. Like then, you know, you can select it specifically with the window and be like, all right, that's that part, and I'm going to track it, you know. You can track it back and forth and like get that part, and then like make a similar one for like the pocket, and make a similar one for that, depending on how much time you have, how much effort you can afford to put into it. But that's like a lot of like product and like especially like beauty commercials and stuff are like a lot of little windows, like just accentuating little parts of it. So that's how I would do it. Any tips on checking saturation without a calibrated monitor besides checking on other screens? Yeah, you got to use your scopes. That's one thing. Is so like vector scope. First of all, on your vector scope, turn that brightness up a little bit more, because I think it comes in like this, and like you're missing a lot of stuff. And so I always turn it pretty far up. And if I really need to see details on stuff, I could turn it down. But for the most part, I'm wanting to look as a whole pretty bright. And if you're not familiar, a vector scope is it's a chart of hue versus saturation. So if I were to make something really red, oops, I'm still on my window here. If I were to make everything really red, you see it goes to that side of the scope. And then as I change the hue, it moves it around that wheel. And the more saturated it is, the farther it is from the center. And so if I were to turn the saturation all the way down, shoop, see how everything goes in the middle? That's the best way to really get a good idea of what your image looks like, even if you're not on like the best calibrated monitor. Because like a lot of the time what'll happen, like more often than not, things will look more saturated than they actually are if you're not on a calibrated monitor, right? That's been my experience. Is like I'll try to, it's hard because you're probably seeing it on a different monitor than mine, but or with, you know what I mean, that's obvious, but like let's say, I'm trying to on the fly figure out a great way to show this. Like let's say this shirt is just crazy, right? Like, and it looks like this on your monitor, and you're like, dang, that shirt just looks like it's insane, you know? But if you open up your vector scope and it looks like it's not like out there like that, if it looks more like that, chances are it's probably not actually insane. It's just your monitor is really bright. You know what I mean? So that's something to consider, is the vector scope is an actual like data of like what the image actually is. And so if you can't trust your monitor, best thing to do is look at the scopes. Man, but like if you're gonna do projects that you want to look good, or projects that you want to do like for other people, you should figure out how to calibrate your monitor. At least some kind of basic calibration, just because it's going to be easier for you. I mean, you could certainly do it on a monitor and like get used to like, okay, if things look brighter on this monitor, they'll look good everywhere else. You can do stuff like that, but it's better to calibrate it. Okay. Just want to say thanks, Casey, for all the tutorials. As a noob, your content has been really helpful. Awesome. Super glad to help. That's super cool. I ask because I get told I oversaturate, but I can't tell until I've exported. Yeah. Yep. People have accused me of oversaturating for sure. And I think part of it is I like a really saturated look. That could be part of it. Could be they're looking at a really saturated monitor. Either way. But a good way to tell is the scope. I meant that the curve controls are available on the mini panel, although you're... Oh, although you're deep diving... Thank you for that very good explanation, but that was not at all what I was asking. Awesome. Okay, can you show us how to color grade like Sam Colder Discover BC vlog? I'd have to look at that and stuff. I'm not familiar with that. I'm sorry. What are the best ways to get work as a colorist? From what I understand, honestly, like I do a lot of my own projects. I've done like quite a few projects for friends and like kind of local people. But what I did was I got in with a company that needed a lot of color work done, and I learned how to do color there. That's how I learned. I know that a lot of people will say you gotta pay your dues. You gotta go to a place that does color and help out a colorist and like help them like set up their projects for them, fix all the XML crap, and like do all that stuff. And like that's how you get in with like a color, you know, like a place that does color, or like to be trained by a colorist. And I would totally agree that that is probably the best way to get like legit color jobs. That's not the route that I took, but you know, I don't do a lot of professional color work. I do like I make things for you guys. I do stuff for my own projects a lot, and I just share what I've learned. So I mean, I'd be the first to tell you like that I'm not like a working colorist that just does color work all the time, you know. I do a lot of different stuff, but color is something that I really like. So, but that's what I've heard is the best way to do it. All right, can you scroll through it really quick on YouTube? It would be interesting to see what you say about it. About what? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Jamie. What? I'm sure you said it back in chat, but I'm confused because it's been a while since I've looked at your last message. Is there time for a text tracking question? Here's the deal with that. Yeah, ask me a question. Sure, that's fine. That's totally fine. Oh, I see. Okay. I get it, Jamie. Sorry. I went crazy. Okay. Let me look. Okay, so this vlog here, just so you guys know, this looks like it was graded with a Vision Color LUT, with a M31 LUT, which is really cool LUT. It gives you this look. It gives you kind of, it takes these warm tones and makes them saturated, saturates the blue tones. It gives you like a pretty good quality like teal and blue LUT, and kind of desaturates other stuff. So that's how you get that look, is the M31 LUT. And that's just being honest, because I don't sell that LUT. Like that's from M31. That's a great, or that's from Vision Color. That's a great LUT. So if you want that type of look, I would definitely recommend checking that out. To do that without that LUT, you would basically be selecting the warmer tones and saturating them, and the colder tones and saturating them, and desaturating other ones. And so that's pretty much the idea. But I am 100% sure that that's how he got that, because that's a pretty common look. Sorry about that. I thought that would be more complicated. So let's see. Somebody else asked me something. Okay, if I miss something, let me know. I don't. Oh yeah, the text tracking question. That's what I was thinking. Let me see. So this video at 45 seconds. One moment. Yeah, I have a, so he's asking about how to do this. This is honestly something that's way easier in After Effects. Like that. That was certainly, I'm gonna bet that was done in After Effects. You can do that in Resolve. I have a tutorial about that, about tracking. It basically takes the camera matching, like tracker, and you can put a text layer on it like that. And so I'll have Dan link that video. So, but yeah, I have a tutorial on that. It's slightly complicated, so I'm not going to go through it right now, but there's a tutorial for that. How to grade a movie, but when I try, I feel like it's flat. Like it looks flat. Is that what you're asking, Manny? How to grade S-Log2 footage basic. Okay. Let me, I'm going to turn off my thing here. Let me load a different project. And I will show you how. Just a minute, guys. It's funny, I have a tutorial recorded for this, but I'm waiting to put it out for a secret reason. It's not that secret. We're coming out with an S-Log2 LUT pack in just a couple days. So, and I talk about like using those LUTs during that. So, but this will be fun. This will be fun to go through. Hold on. Is my like shortcuts are not working very well today. I don't know why. That's dumb. Okay. Here we go. Okay, guys. So S-Log2. This is footage shot in S-Log2, and generally, you color grade this just like you would any footage, and I kind of have like a few steps for grading that, which I go through in my tutorial. They're basically these, okay? So first of all, what I like to do is make it look natural. Like I try and make this this footage look like it should look in real life, because I feel like that's a great starting point before you stylize it, before you do anything fancy with it, is just to figure out what it's actually supposed to look like to your eye, right? So one thing is that these blacks are lifted. There's not a whole lot of really dark stuff in this footage, except for maybe like here in her hair, maybe some stuff in the background, but I'm thinking that those shadows need to come down a little bit. So I'm going to push my lift down just a little. Something like that. It might be too much. This is just a starting point. And I feel like it should probably be brighter, so I'm going to push my gain up a little bit. and kind of get some good exposure there. I might push the gamma up. And I'm just looking for it to be good brightness, good signal. And you don't have to all the time. It depends on your shot. If it needs to, if you want it to be a low light looking shot, you don't have to do this. But generally, you want your shot to like stretch between 1023 and 0. Like you want it to be pretty big on your chart here, on your parade or your vector scope. It doesn't have to be like all the way like this. Like, cause yeah, that's stretched around the chart, but look, it looks awful. You know what I mean? So like, you want to keep it tasteful, but pretty much make it stretch out. And then saturation, I'm gonna boost that to where I think it looks natural, which is about there. I can check it on my vector, or on my vector scope. And you'll see on our vector scope that like most of this is like living around halfway between the middle and this like R and like Y, somewhere in there. That's about like good for skin tones. It's somewhere in there. There's some stuff that's really bright right here in this yellow. That's this part. That's this light. And that's okay. That's fine. It can be bright. Right? If we really don't like it, we can qualify it and bring it down. But that's pretty good saturation, in my opinion. And so that's pretty much a lot of it. And then what I like to do usually is make another node, and I'll make a contrast curve of some kind. So like I'll do like an S curve, and I'm just looking at, I don't want to crush it out like that. I just want to give it, take some of the haze out of it. And so here's before and here's after. It's really subtle, but it's just taking that gray tone out of it, you know? And that's pretty much what I start with. And once your shot's here, it's like all the same after that, for the most part. And so like, if I want to do my look after that, I'll do it in this node, you know? So that's kind of the idea, is I like to make it look normal first. You don't have to. You could skip the step if you're going for a specific thing. Like, I'll make a new, oh my goodness, no. I'll make a new version, and I'll reset everything. If I'm going for like a hipster thing, I don't have to go through all of that. Like, I could just like boost up my gamma and like, you know, do something like that. Maybe add a little bit of contrast. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. I can roll with that for my look. As long as my shots match, as long as I like it, you know, and it makes the viewer feel how I want them to feel, who cares? Nobody's going to know that you didn't do all of that and then make it hipster. It's fine. So there's my thoughts. I can go back to my other shot here. Okay. I do have a log for a LUT for slog2, and that's basically, it's kind of doing all that stuff for you, the free LUT. And that's kind of the deal. Is it's doing what most of those slog2 shots need, as far as setting the white and the black point and the saturation and the contrast, the exposure and everything right, so that you don't have to go do that all yourself. You can just be like boop and put a LUT on it. And so I'll show you it with the LUT too. So like, I'm gonna load the LUT in my second thing here. Let's see, yeah, slog2 to 709. See, it's like the same thing, but it takes like 1 second. And then like this is coming in a little bit dark, so I can boost my lift a little bit. You know, something like that. And then if I go in between, like this is my custom shot, this is my LUT. If I like how my custom shot looks a little better, I can boost my gain up a little bit and kind of make that look a little bit more similar. That's the idea. Okie dokie. How do you set the correct white balance? Do you do it by using your gut feeling the auto white balance is any good? Auto white balance I don't believe is any good. I don't like the auto anything most of the time. The things I do like are these little crosshair pickers. So let me switch back to my other project here. Shoop, shoop. Okay, so like in this shot, I'll boost up the exposure a little bit, kind of get this into a usable thing. So this white balance is off. It's a little bit, it's just a little bit warm. So a way that I like to do it is grab my, whatever this is called. It's the pick white point picker thing right by the gain. I can grab that, and I just gotta click something that should be white, right? So like this shoe is probably white. So I'm gonna click that, and it does two things. It sets the balance of the gain, and it also sets the exposure. What you usually don't want is the exposure that it picks. The balance is probably pretty good for the most part. So what I can do now is I can just roll down until it actually is a good exposure. So something maybe like that. And there I have like a little bit more balanced image without really having to do a lot of work in the gain wheel. It might be a little bit too blue, so I could bring that back towards the middle a little bit. But that's a quick way to do that, and honestly, it works pretty well. I like it a lot, and it's a lot easier than looking on your scopes and trying to figure out where that thing that's white is and then balancing it with your gain wheel. So that's what I like. 6 months ago, my teacher told me about this film festival he wants me to do. It's for high school, and I kind of procrastinated, and now I only have till April 5th. I wrote everything, and I just need to storyboard, but I'm afraid editing will take too long. Yep, it will probably take a while. My advice would be storyboard it really well and shoot exactly what you storyboard, and then you can go through your storyboard and just add the things to your timeline. Because if you have your storyboard right, you pretty much have your edit. Like, if you're doing that right. Not everybody likes to work that way, but that would be my my advice there. Any plans to create LUTs for Cinelike? DJI Mavic Air shoots this format, not D-Log. If you guys want Cinelike LUTs, absolutely. Yep. We'll be sending out another, what's it called? Survey. We'll be sending out another survey soon about what we should make next. If you guys want Cinelike LUTs, if that's what everybody's shooting, that's exactly what we'll make. Do you ever use Blackmagic Fusion, or do you prefer After Effects, and why? It's funny because I kind of want to learn Fusion, and it's free, it looks really powerful, it looks awesome, and I kind of think like, man, I could totally rock that program. But I know After Effects really well. I've worked with After Effects for like 12 years. So like I'm just staying with After Effects because I use like Illustrator and Photoshop like every day. And so I already have the Adobe suite. And that's like one of the reasons why I use Premiere still too. But Fusion definitely looks like it's powerful. It's just such a different way of working than like layer-based stuff that it's probably really scary. That's why I know a lot of people don't use it, is because it's scary. It's like nodes in Resolve. It's kind of scary. But I'm sure just like nodes in Resolve, once you get it, it's like, oh, well, that's not that bad, you know? Any tips on grading snow footage for snowboard and ski videos, especially low and flat light situations? One of the big things with snow footage is you can get that blown out pretty easily. My big thing would be to make that snow bright white. Probably for the most part, you want that snow to be bright white. Even in a lower light situation, if you have a decent camera that like a Blackmagic camera, you can usually boost up pretty hard and it still looks good. But if it's low light and it falls apart if you boost it up, you might just want to leave it. You might just want to leave it low, like low exposure, and just live with it, you know, because you could have really grainy footage, and you might be able to do some noise reduction. Noise reduction would be your friend there, but yeah. But generally, you're going to want things like snow is generally bright white, and so you're going to want to grade it bright white. And then everything else should kind of fall in place. Do you have a free let? The short film I'm working on, I want it to be an action film, and I need something simple I can throw over it and just focus on the other editing. We have free lets at groundcontrolcolor.com. I'm not sure if it's the exact same. Yeah, it says page not found. It's called, yeah, /free LUTs, free-LUTs. Yeah, there you go. You can sign up there to get access to all our free LUTs. If you're just looking for like a basic one, I'd recommend the Reign LUT, R-E-I-G-N, because that'll give you just a nice kind of filmic look that you can put over things. But that being said, it's not as simple as just putting a LUT over everything, because you still have to match your shots. You still have to make sure they're good exposure. Like, to make it look like a film, you have to shoot it well, with good exposure, with a good quality camera, with good lighting, and match your shots and put that look over it. Like, that's what gives you that look. It's not just putting a LUT on it. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying. That's just for everybody's information, for clarity. Okay. Are S-Log and V-Log Sony/Panasonic treatments of the same thing? Are they really different? They are different, but really, I just put a tutorial out about how to grade any log footage, and that explains more about like what log is. Every company has their like flavor of log, and all it's really trying to do is increase your dynamic range. And so like pretend that this is like how the camera records stuff. Like this is the curve that it records stuff on, okay? So like this is a balanced shot. Let's pretend like, just ignore the nodes for the moment, right? So let's say this is how it looks in real life. Sometimes a camera will shoot like without log, it might shoot like this, okay? And it will look like all these blacks are kind of like crushed, and like some of the highlights are being blown out and that type of thing. That's like how a normal camera shoots, right? Log is pretty much just trying to expose a little bit more in the shadows and a little less in the highlights and boost this part up like that. Like that's a log curve pretty much. And so some companies will have their log curve look like this. Some of them will look like this. You know, some of them will look like this, and they'll be a little bit different. They're the same idea, but it's a different curve. You know what I mean? And so that's why it's a little bit different grading something that's like starts with this curve versus this curve, because you have that difference there. Does that make sense? Ground control is really good. Aw, thanks. That's the best. Any free GH5 LUTs? We have a LUT for Cinelike D, and we also have one for natural with the flat settings. So if that's what you shoot on GH5, those should work fine. That's called Titan. That's our LUT pack for those. But if you shoot Vlog, we don't have anything for Vlog. If you guys want Vlog, let us know. If we have enough people asking for it, we can make it. What sucks is like we're not a huge company, but we do have to kind of invest our time in things that most people want. You know, so like if one person wants this like specific LUT, it's really hard for us to like put in the time and like the marketing effort and everything to make that. Versus like if everybody wants wants D-Log LUTs, you know, and so that's why we have a lot of D-Log LUTs. And you know, same thing for S-Log, same thing for like CineStyle, that type of thing. So, and that's the thing, like, there are different ways of shooting, like different picture styles that I like better, that I haven't made like ground control LUTs for, because like not a lot of people use those, you know. So that's the kind of good and bad part about it. Hey Casey, killer work. I wanted to thank you for what you do. Your crash course for Resolve changed everything for me. Thank you. Awesome. Jason, thank you so much. That's so cool. Yep. Remember, a LUT expects a good exposure. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Most LUTs, at least the LUTs that we design, are designed for something that looks like this. Like good exposure, good, like pretty much you nailed that shot, right? Because we want to reward people for nailing the shot, right? Like you want to use it for pro stuff, right? And so if you shoot it right, it should look really, really great, you know? But like if we made LUTs that were shot, like designed for underexposed stuff, then anybody who exposes it right isn't going to be able to use it, you know? Yeah. I want a slightly better match move than that video. Maybe a fusion to... Yeah, I mean, that would be a fusion or an After Effects thing. Like, it honestly doesn't really get much better in Resolve. I mean, without spending a lot more time and effort, you might be able to get it better. But for a match moving something, that's really not Resolve's strong point. That's a compositor's strong point. Sometimes it can be okay to let snow go hot on exposure as long as there are other things to create contrast. That's why they paint slopes with blue lines for TV. Yeah, totally. Totally. That's the thing. Like, people are afraid of blowing stuff out. Like, you could look at this and be like, dude, that window is so blown out. Like, why would you shoot it that way? It's because there's nothing important out that window. Like, it doesn't matter. You're looking at this stuff. It's okay. And so, like, if you need to blow out some snow that's just white, and like your subject is good exposure, looks nice, like it's not that big a deal, honestly. So don't be afraid to do that. That's a really good point, Cinematech. I have a question about grading DSLR footage. Can we get the same Hollywood effect? Myself shoot flat, tried, but couldn't get the same results at all. Tried DaVinci and Premiere. Hollywood effect? Are you talking about the orange and teal? Or are you talking about just making your stuff look good like Hollywood stuff? Because we can talk about that. That's a big subject. Let me know. Keeping texture in snow is tough with flat light. Yeah, especially from GoPros. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I just don't want to pay for After Effects just for this. A simple text following an object seems like a basic yet classy effect. Yeah, I mean, there's a few tutorials online. I would search for it for Resolve or search for a Fusion tutorial. After Effects is so freaking easy to do that, though. Like, it takes 5 seconds in After Effects. That's amazing. You can always download a trial of After Effects. If you just need it for this one shot, 7-day trial After Effects, just saying. And they have lots of After Effects tutorials on that. Do you typically desaturate highlights to replicate a film look? A lot of the time, I do feel like I do that. Yeah. Yep, that's a great, just, it's kind of like a dirty trick, but it looks nice. And same thing for shadows, a lot of the time. Let's do another LUT giveaway. It's been a while. It's been a minute. Let's do one. We'll do one now, and then we'll do another one before we end. Does that sound good? Hollywood orange and teal with pure blacks. Okay, yeah, we'll look at that in a second. You guys, here's what works. What word should we pick, Danjo? LUT for free. Dan's going to type that in the chat so that we know exactly what to type. Here's the deal. If you type this keyword, !LUT for free, all one word, like that, you will be entered to win a free LUT pack of your choice from Ground Control. And I will tell you how to get a hold of us to make that happen. Sure. And so whoever wins this we'll tell you how to get a hold of us to let us know that you're the person who won. It'll be great. So yeah, our fancy chat bot is going to look at all that and pick your name randomly from a digital hat. Digital hat. You didn't think you'd be signing up for that today, did you, digital hats? Well, thanks. I don't understand the difference between the different color calibrators available. Is the most expensive really worth it? If you're doing a multi-million-dollar Hollywood movie, you should definitely use a very expensive calibrator and probably a very expensive monitor and everything. If you're doing like your own YouTube videos and stuff, you can probably get away with a like X-Rite or like a Spider. That's probably fine. There's a lot of tutorials and guides and stuff with that. You've helped me with color grading so much. I know you've invested a lot of time, but I just thought I'd thank you and let you know that I appreciate all your videos and live Q&As. Thank you, Jamie. Really appreciate that. Should we shoot recommended 1 or 2 stops up so that we can better control over editing, right? It depends on what you're shooting. Depends on the camera you're shooting with. Generally, you want to shoot stuff as bright as you can. That's what I always say, especially with log. You want to shoot as bright as you can. You don't want to overexpose it. If you're shooting RAW, you can overexpose it a little bit because you can recover some of those highlights in RAW. There's good and bad parts about doing that, but for like regular log, you don't want it to be blowing out. Like if you got zebra stripes on your camera, set those at 100 and make sure whatever you want to actually have data doesn't have zebra stripes on it, and shoot as bright as you can. Like I've shot that way for a long time and things turn out pretty well. There might be people who argue with me on that, but do the research for your camera, like whatever camera you're shooting with, if it's like A7S or if it's like whatever camera you got. But generally shoot as bright as you can without clipping what you want to keep. And that's different than setting your zebra stripes at like 80, because you can still use stuff that's above 80, right? So like set them at 100 to do that, unless you're really trying to pad it. Any plans for making LUTs for DCineLike? Yeah, I was talking about that earlier. If you guys shoot DCineLike, let us know. We'll be sending out a questionnaire about what everybody shoots here pretty soon. And we'll figure out what we're going to make next, because we just want to make what is helpful for you guys. That's our deal. We want to empower you guys to make the best looking color stuff ever. That's the idea. If you could explain the difference, if there is one, between noise and color noise. I struggle with noise every now and then, and even with perfect exposure. I might be confused by that. I'm not exactly sure what you mean. If there is a difference between, I guess, noise and color noise, I guess I'm not familiar with that, unless you're just talking about like, yeah, I'm not sure exactly. So if you could clarify, that'd be great. DCineLike is a picture style for DJI drones. It's so confusing. Gosh, there are so many cameras and formats now. It gets so confusing because there's DCineLike, but there's also CineLike D. DCineLike is on DJI, and CineLike D is on Panasonic. Why they freaking name everything the same, I don't know. Yeah. Alright, hey, you guys, this is your last chance to win a LUT pack during this giveaway. So, exclamation point LUT for free. We're going to be doing one more giveaway at the end, but enter your name now so you'll have 2 chances to win a LUT pack for free. It's exclamation point LUT for free in the chat. Our fancy chat bot will draw your name from a digital hat. Digital hat. How often do you start a project in Resolve by using RCM or ACES? I don't really ever use either of those, honestly. I feel like if you're shooting on like one camera and like that's what you use all the time, that might save some time. Might be good, but I haven't had very good experience with that so far. Again, I could totally be doing it wrong. I could totally just be a stupid idiot. So do your own research. Take that with a grain of salt, but that's a thing. Has to be all one word, Derek. Exclamation point LUT for free, one word. Okay. All right, we are drawing a winner. Here we go. Pierre Truchon, you've won the giveaway. Congratulations. Good for you. That's awesome. Hey, if you type, is the email thing a thing? Exclamation point email into the chat. That will give you the way to email us and let us know that you're that guy or that person. You're that person from chat, and that you would like your free LUT now, please. You need what's coming to you. Okay? So congratulations. Again, you guys will be giving away one more LUT pack at the end of the stream. That's in about 10 or 15 minutes or so. Okay? I'm going to try and get through a couple more questions if we can. Okay, so somebody asked about the orange and teal look. All right, this is basically how that works. For a really good explanation of this that's much more detailed and probably way better, let's see. I will give you a link here. All right. Here's the link to basically what I'm going to explain now in a much... This link is a very good tutorial on this, and this is like... This tutorial's very good. Okay, but let's find a good... Let's find something good here. Okay, this might work. Let's try that. Here's the deal. For the orange and teal to actually make that good, to make it look as good as orange and teal can look, it's some work, all right? And basically what you do is you isolate the skin tones and you turn everything else teal, right? So I'm going to make, this one is going to be skin, and then I'm going to make a layer, so Alt-L, and this is going to be, let's see, that's the top layer, that's right, because this is backwards. So I'm going to switch these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this bottom layer, I'm going to make that, just to start out with, I'll make it really blue. And this top layer, what I'm going to do is qualify it, and I'm just going to grab the skin, okay? So I'm going to grab the skin like this, and if I go to highlight mode, you can see I'm just grabbing skin tones, warm stuff, right? And I can adjust that, and that's where the trickiness comes in, is adjusting it. And if you have stuff like these trees in the background, this grass, you're going to have to do rotoscoping. That's the reality of it, right? And it takes quite a bit of playing with, and you have to do that for every shot pretty much individually. It's miserable to do this. So it's something like that, though. The good thing is it's not quite as horrible as it used to be, because Resolve has like adjusted its like matte finesse controls and stuff. But basically you isolate the skin tones and you put them over a background that's cooler. And so this is just this skin layer. Oops. So this is the back layer. This like kind of this blue, which I can make this probably look less horrible. Probably, if I tried. Right? Probably. Maybe I'll desaturate it a little bit. Something like that. This is the back layer. This is the front layer. And then this is them together. And so it kind of gives you that warm on teal look. That's essentially how you do it, and it's very, very dependent on how it's shot and how it's lit. Something like this would be freaking miserable to do this on. That's why I picked this shot, is because you can't just apply it to everything. Same thing like with that M31 LUT that like kind of gives you that look. Again, that LUT does a really good job, but it still gives you things like this. Like those qualified like little weird things. That happens a lot in that LUT too, so you have to be careful with it as well. So that's the deal. So let's see if there's like a really good example. Like this one might do it pretty well. Like if I grab the skin tones here and widen that up, like this has a little bit nicer like skin tones and like contrast and stuff. So I might be able to do that, and then like you know, and I can kind of have more of a warm uncool look there. Again, like there are some problems like weird stuff in the gloves and stuff, like stuff within her hair. Again, that's just kind of the nightmare of doing that type of thing without planning for it. Generally, if you want that look, you're going to have to shoot for it to make it look really good. Okay, so that was somehow a longer explanation than I thought it would be. Okay. Let's see where we're at on things. What are the must-have features in the paid version of Resolve? I want the denoiser, but what else do you find you use the most from the upgrade? Honestly, the denoiser is rad. The filters are cool too. I really like the, they have like a film grain filter that's really nice. There's like a face refinement filter that's really cool too. Those are cool. I don't know if they're worth paying for the whole version. Like if you're doing UHD or below, dude, I would go with the free version unless you really needed to do a lot of denoising. Because that full version now is pretty comparable price to, what's it called? Neat Video, which is what I was using for denoise with the free version for a long time. And the denoiser works about as good as, probably not quite as good, but pretty darn good, like Neat Video does, and it plays back way faster, renders way faster. It's great. Biggest thing for me would be noise reduction for the paid version. Why do we adjust colors before the LUT? Here's why. So let's pick a LUT. Let's do okay. Oh, I forgot we're not on S-Log2. That would be why. I'm like, why does that look bad? It's for that reason. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so this is a basic grade on our image, right? If we put this 709 LUT on top of this, right? This is just a LUT that stylizes any image, okay? If we put this LUT on it, and I'll label it so that we know, this is going to be adjustments, right? Right now, this LUT has a certain style, and so it's mapping the colors to look a certain way. And so if you adjust things under this LUT, it has a certain like black point and a certain white point, whoops, that way, and a certain like saturation and stuff that it's mapping stuff to. And so if you want to mess with things, like if you want these like blacks to be really, really black, like it just, like if you're adjusting the colors, like they don't really act how you think they would if it's under the LUT. And the reason for that is because it's going through that LUT and it's stylizing things through the LUT, right? If you want to adjust how the final image looks, and you want to like get rid of some of the things that the LUT is doing, you're like, oh man, this doesn't really give me those deep blacks. Like even if I do this, like it doesn't feel like those blacks get deep enough. Like they're still lifted a little bit, you know? You can add a node afterwards and bring it down and get those like kind of deeper blacks or like certain different tones that you want that aren't conformed to that LUT, right? The reason you would adjust before it is if you really like the way that LUT works, which if you're using the LUT, usually that's why you would do it. And then you're like, okay, well I can adjust things under the LUT and it kind of conforms it to a certain look, right? So it's kind of like, do you like what the LUT is doing? If you do stuff before the LUT. If you don't, do stuff after the LUT. But one thing is that once something goes through the LUT, the information's clipped. Okay, so check this out. So like if I blow this gain out right here, there's a lot of stuff that's blown out, but like you can see like things are really bright on like the output, okay? But if I bring the gain down in this first node, look, like I can bring a lot of that detail back because in the original image, it's there, okay? But if it's like this and it's blown out like crazy, and then I go after the LUT and I try and bring it down, look what happens. It doesn't come back. It just squeezes the image down. That's like the big reason why you would adjust stuff before the LUT is because they're like, oh man, I like this, but I don't like how it's like blowing out the highlights. If it's like a high contrast LUT, you're like, I really want some more detail on that plate. I'm gonna bring the highlights down. And you bring them down after the LUT, they don't come back. You bring them down before the LUT, and they come back real nice. Real nice. Yeah, classy. So that's the deal. That's before and after the LUT. Oh man. Good stuff. Okay. We're going to have to get going. I'm going to try and see if there's a couple quick questions here.
We're smoking reefer, and you don't want no part of this shit.
If you could explain importing and matching video files with separate audio files. I've not had good luck with this. Does it require metadata in both or simply a waveform match? You can do a waveform match inside of Resolve. I think I go over that in my end-to-end tutorial. I have a couple like different like Resolve editing end-to-end tutorials, and at the beginning of those, I think I go through that a little bit. I don't have time to go through that right now, but look at those, and if you still can't figure it out, send me a message, email me, send me a message on Discord, and I'll try and help you out. I have an old question. How can we render DaVinci footage without losing illegal RGB values? You pretty much have to set them within your scopes before you set them through a broadcast filter. So like, if I had it like this, and it was like really saturated, some of this would look weird if I put a broadcast filter on it. It would look weird. And so what I want to do is pretty much make sure that everything is set within the legal values here before it hits the broadcast filter. And so you're like kind of like preparing it to go through that filter. You know what I mean? And that's things like if something specific is too bright, it's like either grabbing it on this curve and like bringing it down the hue versus saturation curve, or the saturation versus saturation curve, or qualifying it and bringing it down with the qualifier. It's one of those. Okay. I'm using an Atomos Shogun Flame external recorder. When I apply the LUT in my monitor, teal and orange LUT it looks good, but when I apply the LUT in post, it looks bad. How? The only thing I can think of is that if you are recording a different picture style than you're displaying, because sometimes like for like Blackmagic camera, for instance, and I think like Sony cameras will do this too. You can record in a in BMD film, like in a log format, and but like you can preview it in a video format. So basically, it looks like it's recording. It looks like here. This isn't BMD film, but basically, it looks like you're recording it like this, like on your monitor, but you're really recording it, you know, like this. And that's like really how it's coming through. And so like what will happen is if you put on like a teal and orange LUT, like a 709 LUT or something, like let's say, I don't know, let's go with this one, right? Boo, boo, boo. If you are previewing it and you think that you're recording it like this and you put on the LUT, you're like, oh yeah, that looks dope, right? But then you switch it and you're actually recording it like this, and then you put the LUT on, you're like, what happened? And that's because you are you're recording it, you aren't recording it like this, you're recording it like this, and then you're trying to put the same LUT on it. That would be my guess. That would be my guess. All right. Have you ever used 3D LUT Creator? Yeah, I've played with it a little bit. Yeah. Is there a trick to shooting for the M31 LUT? Properly exposing the skin, I'm assuming. Yeah, again, you gotta shoot. I mean, you gotta keep that in mind. That contrast. Like, if you can light somebody's skin really well, and like not have warm stuff in the background, that's gonna help you out. Like if you shoot them against a gray wall, beautiful. Like that's why that Hollywood tutorial looks really well, is because it's somebody with nice skin tones isolated in front of something that isn't warm. And like that's pretty easy to make that separation because it's essentially keying the values. Even the M31 LUT is doing something like that. Okay. You guys, we're going to have to go, so we're going to give away one more LUT pack. So, here's how you win it. You type LUT for free in the chat. Exclamation point, LUT for free, one word, right? Type that in the chat. You will be entered to win a free LUT pack from Ground Control, and we'll get a hold of you, or you can get a hold of us. We'll ask you what LUT pack you want, and we'll send it to you. For Frisney! That will be sweet. Can you do zoom transitions without plugins? I know there are, under Toolbox, there are a lot of different transitions here. I don't think they have zoom transition. There's probably a way to do it like yourself, you know, and like keyframe it, which you might look into doing. There's probably a way to do that. I myself don't do a lot of transitions, honestly, so I'm not that familiar with it, but you could certainly do something like that, or you can check out, they might have some presets or some plugins available. And it's one word, exclamation point, LUT for free, LUTFORFREE, okay? Okay. See the rest of your question, please. Where is it? Oh, if I denoise something that I want to color grade after denoising and keeping illegal RGB levels, how can we render it? If I denoise something that I want to color grade after denoising... Oh, that I want to color grade after denoising and keeping illegal RGB levels, how can we render it? Oh, if you render it, it depends on your codec. I'm pretty sure that you can render like Cineform and I think DNX HD, and if you don't put the broadcast filter on it, it will render like the full like values, like it, and I think it's like I don't remember the exact numbers and stuff, but basically if you don't put a filter on it and you don't limit it in any way, or you don't put a LUT on it, it's pretty much going to render those full values unless you set it to. But you should probably check on that. But from what I understand, if you do like Cineform cuts RGB, that's interesting. Even RGB 16-bit does that? The only codec is EXR. Man, I don't know. Yeah, EXR would certainly keep everything. But yeah, EXRs are huge. Yeah, I'm not sure, man. I would do some searching on forums and stuff for that. It's been a while since I've had to worry about that, honestly, because I do a lot of web stuff. All right, you guys, this is your last chance! Exclamation point LUT for free, all one word. Do it. It's not LUTs for free. LUT, L-U-T for free. If you put LUTs for free, it will not enter you. It's very picky. So please put that there. I don't have a video for delivering stuff for feature films. Sorry. General suggestions on how to learn color grading. Biggest thing is just watch a lot of tutorials. I have a lot of tutorials on kind of some basic stuff. I do have a basic color grading course, which if you want to look at that, I'm biased. I explain it how I wish somebody explained it to me. It is a paid course, and that is available under groundcontrolcolor.com. Let me look. /training. Let me look. Nope, it's not /training. Yeah, it is /training. What the heck? Okay. All right, here's a link to that class. That's a tutorial for somebody who knows a little bit about video production. So you have to have like a decent understanding of how like video editing works and like post-production. But it's like if you're good like with editing and like you know a little bit about like camera formats and stuff, like that's a pretty good, I feel like it's a pretty good course on that. So, and I feel like it's pretty basic without taking like a million years, because that's why all my tutorials are like go really fast. A lot of people like complain about it, but it's like, dude, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ADD, but I want things. I'm like, okay, just tell me what it is, just go, you know. And so I wanted to make tutorials for people like me who are just like, I don't want to watch 6 hours of Lynda training. I just want to learn how to use the software. Like, and why does it have to take so freaking long? So it's kind of from that standpoint. Yeah, Val Richard, then you should be, I think you should be fine. And if honestly, if you buy it and you hate it and you're like, that sucks, just let me know and I'll give you your money back. No problem. Okay, we're gonna do the drawing because I have to go. We have to do other things today. Unfortunately, we can't just hang out. I wish we could hang out. It'd be so great. Yeah. So, you want to draw it? Let's do it. Yeah, Pierre Breton has won the giveaway. Congratulations. That is super rad. Awesome. You guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Really appreciate it. It has been awesome. Thank you guys for your questions. I always am amazed, like, that you guys show up and you ask stuff, and I don't feel like I'm necessarily an expert at any of this. I feel like I've worked a little bit on color stuff, and I feel like I'm a decent teacher. And so thank you so much for being here and for being awesome. Love that. Love that. So you guys, we're going to be doing this probably again next month, if not before. And I'm hoping that next time it will be going through color grading one of your projects. So we're going to get a hold of you. Believe me, you will not be able to miss it. We will be sending emails. We'll be doing stuff through social media and through Discord saying, hey, submit your stuff for grading on the live stream. All right. And we'll let you know how to do that and all the details. But we're hoping that next month when we do this, that it'll be that, because that'll be fun. Yes. Love you guys. Appreciate you. I'll see you later. Love you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Man, get that timer out of there. We aren't counting down to nothing.